Now we saw how important it is to scale strokes properly. If I select this mosquito, for example, and I go into my transform options, we had a look earlier at the options for scale and stroke effects. And if that's switched on, I can happily scale down this mosquito to make a symbol. And you should see that all the strokes update, okay? So they scale correctly, in other words, so it looks correct at that size. If we undo that and we go back to our big mosquito, and I'm just going to zoom out by hitting Apple- on the keyboard and then holding down spacebar just to move my view so I can see it properly. If we turn that option off and then try and scale it down, watch what happens. You'll notice that the lines on the face, the strokes on the face, are far too heavy. And that's what happens if you don't have that option switched on for scale strokes in here. Now there's also a preference for that. If you go into your preferences general, you can say scale strokes and effects, and then everything will scale correctly. And that's fine for you while you're working on your own artwork. But if you were to send this off to be printed, for example, or to another artist for them to work on it, and they didn't have those options on, when they scale your artwork, it's going to look awful. So it's going to end up looking really bizarre. And they're probably not even going to notice, to be honest, because it's a different style from what they're used to looking at. So what you need to do, if that's the case, is use what's called outline strokes. And if I go to my effect menu, in fact, we'll just do this individually on the eye to begin with so you can see how it works. If I select my eye, the eyeball, and we zoom in around the eyeball, and I'm just going to change the colour so we can see that. So I'm going to double click the layer and choose a nice bright green colour so we can see the stroke. Notice that there's the stroke, and I have my stroke going on the inside of the path. Path's indicated by the green colour. In fact, let's change it to red. That would stand out a bit better. So you can see the path and the stroke on the path. Now, notice there is only one path. And if we go into our stroke options, we can decide to align it either in the centre or inside or outside. So if I align it in the centre, you can clearly see there's just one path there. Now, if I want to hand this artwork on to someone else, what I can do is go into my Object menu and go to Path, Outline Stroke. And watch what happens to the stroke when I do that. It creates an outline. So instead of having just one path, it's actually created paths for the outline for me. Now, because I have it halfway across the path aligned, it will give me 3 paths. If I go into my stroke options and change it again so that it's aligned inside the path, and then go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, it will only give me 2, so it's giving me an inner one and an outer one. So now, when that gets scaled down, so let's zoom out again, double-click the hand tool to zoom out, select the mosquito, and scale it down. You'll notice that that eye is scaling correctly. So basically what we're doing, it's almost like expanding appearance, a similar thing. We're kind of like expanding it. So instead of it having just an outline with an appearance, if we go to View Outline, it has 2 lines indicating the width of the stroke. This one here only has a line and then has an appearance which creates the width of the stroke. This one has 2 lines which will keep a fixed width for that stroke. So if we select all and now go to Object, Path, Outline Stroke, you'll notice that the same happens to the other eye as well. And we now have all of our mosquito with outline strokes. And now, even if someone has the preferences switched off for scale strokes and effects, and let's just come out of outline mode and go back to preview mode, they can happily scale it up and down. If I just hit Command H or Control H on Windows, we can see that scale as I'm dragging. You'll notice that we haven't got a problem, except for I've missed some of the wing. But notice in terms of the weight of the stroke, I can go down really small, create my symbol, and my symbol is going to have the same weight of stroke as when I initially designed it. So if you want to make sure that when you pass this artwork on, the stroke weights scale correctly. regardless of what someone's system settings are, then just use outline strokes to convert it.